Alright guys, so this will be a review of the ROS Menzi Muck A91 4x4 in 1/50th scale. When I first look at this model, the first thing that comes to my mind are the functions, and that's what I'm going to start off the video with right now. The functions are pretty much any standard excavator would have. The boom raises and it lowers, and on this excavator the stick extends out and then it comes back in. Sometimes you could have a little problem extending it, so I do suggest being careful with it. And the bucket curls, and it also curls in very far. It tilts left and right. As you can see, unfortunately there's no cylinders to hold it, but sometimes you could get it stiff enough to hold. And the stick comes in and goes out. I like that the stick comes in very far. Biggest features of this model, I have to say, the undercarriage, and it's one reason why I did buy it. Each tire is linked onto an arm, and each one could move individually. They could raise up, for example, and the back ones can raise like so. And not only can they raise, but you could extend them out. Now, since you can extend them out, you could also turn the tires on both sides. So obviously if you have them folded in, tires will be like that, but when you fold them out, tires will be turned, so that's why you could adjust the tires. On the back side, and I think this side is probably the coolest, when you raise and lower it, it actually keeps it level. And I think this is the side where most of the hill climbing would occur. If you notice, this side has these little pads on the back, and I'll show them more when I get to the detail. But this side also raises and lower, and this side will lower even more. For some reason that side lowers more, but if you notice, it lowers even more, and that's what I mean by it'll really dig into a hill. And on this side as well, they come out. And what I mean by it stays level is, if you notice, these don't adjust. These stay straight when you move the arms, and that's a plus. Now these arms right here stay level when you raise and lower it, and it's very hard to tell, but that cylinder in there will actually keep it level when you raise and lower it. And you could display it numerous ways. I always display mine level, so these will have to come up a little, and then you could display it like that. That's usually how I display mine, because I don't really have a hill to display it on or whatever. And it rotates. It's a little hard to rotate. The back engine compartment opens, and the pads or the claws here also are able to move up and down and level, which I like a lot. So now I'm going to get to the detail of it, because it actually does have a very nice amount of detail on it. So the detail on this model is actually really nice, and ROS is a manufacturer that you don't really hear too much about, and even so, wouldn't expect any less. I'd say the coolest thing about this model are probably the decaling. Even on the back of the bucket right there, it says Menzi Muck on it, and I think that's really cool. Over here you can see it has a little lifting eye on the linkage, and the amount of cylinders and hydraulic lines on the model is great. One thing I have to say is I think that the cylinders match very well, especially when I get to the boom. But over here, unfortunately the model doesn't have a quick coupler, but, and I'll show it on this side, Unfortunately, the pins aren't painted, and that does stand out a lot, but I find myself not looking at the bucket too much, I guess you could say. But anyway, over here, they even have the hydraulic lines for the extender stick. And I think that's a very big plus, and even if you move the stick in, the hydraulic lines don't break or anything, and I think that's really cool. And they're perfect length, they're not too short or anything. And they even have the hydraulic line leading to the tilt bucket. It's very unfortunate that they didn't put a cylinder on the tilt bucket, but I'll get to that a little later in the review. On the boom over here, you can see the hydraulic lines that would be on the boom, the metal piping that would be on the boom to get to the stick. And cool thing is that the cylinders match very well. Now the cab on this machine is very visible through the inside, especially for a model. And this means that they would also have to add a lot to the inside of the cab on the model. And as you can tell right here in this shot right here, I think that's the best we'll be able to focus it. The inside of the cab is not only detailed, but it's also very to scale. You can see nothing's too big and nothing's too small. I mean, the main thing when I look at this machine is the massive cab where the engine is housed. And I think that's a big reason why I bought it also. I really like the design of the cab. On the inside you can see all the control panels on the right and the joysticks. On the real machine, each joystick has 19 controls. So you could imagine how it is to operate one of these. It has the mirrors on the cab and the lights, and also more of the fine decaling on the side over here. Coming to the back, since this is a machine from Switzerland, it says Swiss Power right on it, and the big exhaust. I don't know what they tried to do with the exhaust. Maybe it's to scale or maybe it's not. I really don't know. But it is pretty big. If we open up the engine compartment, you could get a look at the engine, and it's hard to tell. It's really nothing crazy, but also underneath it has decaling, and I forget what it says. It's so hard to read. It's so small, but the camera can read it, and if you want to read it, just pause the video right there. It also has the lights on the back and whatnot, and also some small lights up top over here. And the right side, unfortunately, is pretty plain, but nothing really you could do about that. And the boom also says Menzi Muck right there. Now, as for the detail on the undercarriage really doesn't have too much detail. I think that it has more functions than detail. But as for the tires and everything, the tires themselves are actually pretty nice. They're not that really shiny black rubber that you see on, like some North Scott models and whatnot, but they're also not completely flat. I think that they're pretty good, and the tread pattern is also really nice. The feet over here are the outriggers, are really nicely made, as you could tell. I can guarantee if you do put this in a diorama on a hillside, because of these, it will actually hold on a hillside. They actually not sharp, but they go pretty deep. And if you want to see more of the undercarriage actually work, it just pretty much extends like that, and then lowers like that. And more detailing over here is what I believe are, are like grips for steps over here, and some back over there. Pretty much just castings in there. And the other side has it as well. And to sum up the detail, that's pretty much about it. It's actually a pretty hard model to display and review, but I'll get to that at the end. So for build quality of it, the overall build quality of it is excellent. I actually have more of a problem with some of the cylinders don't hold than the actual build quality of it. And for example, the cylinder that raises the boom, I had to put a little glue on. As you could tell, sometimes it doesn't hold, sometimes it does. And some of the cylinders that hold the undercarriage up, and sometimes they'll fall. As you can see right here, they don't fall, but sometimes they do if you have one, sorry about that, if you have one leg higher than the other, sometimes they will, because technically right now all four of them are taking an equal load. So really the only problem I have is the undercarriage cylinders sometimes not holding, like I said, not all the times. It's really it's not even a problem to say I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. It's just, you know, sometimes you gotta watch out with those cylinders. As for plastic, I really can't tell what is plastic because I strictly use this model for shelf display only. Wouldn't recommend buying it for, I guess, playing with, you could say. But overall, great build quality, definitely worth the price. So, to sum up the Menzi Muck, it retails for around 156. I got this one on eBay for 75 shipped to my house. It came from Hong Kong, so it took about a week and a half to come. They are still available on there if you do want to purchase one. Of course, the sooner this video is uploaded, upload date, the better they'll be available. Anyway, even if I had to buy the model for 156 after owning one, I probably still would. It's one of those models that you really don't have much use for in your collection, but it's just such a cool model to have. And the display possibilities of it are pretty much endless. I mean, it really is a one-of-a-kind model. ROS did a great job producing it. There's really no flaws in it. It's definitely worth it for 156, but it's definitely an odd model, so I feel like people that have a bunch of excavators already would buy one instead of, you know, I don't think this is a model that someone would start off their collection with. Not saying that it won't happen, but I think you could understand what I'm saying. Everything about it is really nice. I do wish that they would have put a quick coupler and some other attachments, but you really can't complain. And overall, just a very nice model. I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. And I'm missing that one pretty much because some of the cylinders need a little work. It might have been my model, it might have not been. But overall, a great model, definitely worth the money. And look great if someone puts it in a diorama.